All right, so welcome back. The last time we were talking about going back and doing this operation again and losing our mind because the second time that we've tried this and we still get the error non-numeric argument to binary operator. And we said, well, now hold on, we know that this thing, let's go back to this object wherever it is. Where do we make this? Okay, we know that this is numeric information. It says it right here that this is numeric information. This is numeric information. So why are we getting non-numeric argument to binary operator? And the reason was using the single square bracket on a non-atomic vector returns another non-atomic vector. It doesn't return the contents of that non-atomic vector. It's like going up to the bakery and saying, give me that cookie, and then they say, okay, here's your cookie, and they slide it into like a paper napkin or like a container or whatever. You can't bite into it immediately because it's wrapped in paper. So you would say, instead, give me that cookie and put it on my hand, put it right here. And that is the double subset operator. Just take the cookie and put it directly onto my hand. Don't put it on paper. Don't wrap it up in foil, nothing like that. Just put it directly into my hand so I can eat it immediately. And that's the double subset operator. So the double subset operator comes in when we have to deal with non-atomic information, okay? And here is an example from Hadley Wickham himself. And so, as you can see right here, so he went and stayed at this hotel, this Residence Inn, and they did not put pepper grounds inside of, I mean, technically they did. They put pepper grounds inside of the pepper shaker, but they not in a way that you could shake the pepper out. Okay. So they put it inside of the little packets and they put the packets inside of the pepper shaker. So this is kind of like a list right here. And so I say, okay, if I want a list object, then I've got my list of all of my pepper packets. If I just want the first, but I use the single subset operator, I've still got a list here. I've got my list container. It's the same container, but now I'm only looking at the first packet. So if I want to get the paper packet of pepper out of the container, that's where the double subset operator comes in. Now, this is also not what I want to pour on my food. I don't want to just dump the paper on my food into my soup. I want the pepper out of it, so I would have to subset it again. Now, depending on the class of this object, I could either use the single subset operator or the double subset operator. So if this thing is atomic, which realistically it probably is because it just contains pepper, then maybe I could have used the single subset operator here instead of a double subset operator. But regardless, I have to subset this multiple times to actually get the contents out of this thing because I want to put pepper on my food. So this is an exercise for you. I want you to do these exercises, and I really want you to think about why you got what you got when you did these exercises. So take a minute and work on this. Okay, so you've had a minute to work on these exercises and hopefully discuss with some colleagues or fellows. Okay, so now let's talk about the positional subsetting for these rectangular two-dimensional non-atomic vectors. So we're in a tibble and we're thinking about this like if we're imagining it, we're imagining like an Excel spreadsheet. So this says go to the second row, go over to the third column and give me the information in the second row and third column. And notice here, I'm using the single subset. So what does it return? Well, I started with a tibble. I'm going to end up with a tibble. So it just says, give me this cell. Don't give me the contents of it yet. Just give me the cell. Okay. And this is so because it's the third column, and the column is called alias. And then the second entry, this was Alan Scott, who is, I believe, Green Lantern. I'll have to go back up there. All right. So now if we wanted to extract more than one column and row, we can also do that. So say, okay, give me the third and fourth rows. Give me the first and third column. So this is subject ID, this is column 1, and their alias, this is column 3. The third and fourth row belong to Spider-Man and Batman. Their aliases are Peter Parker and Bruce Wayne. Now, if I want to extract an entire column, again, I'm using row column syntax. So the row, I just leave blank, but I have to put a comma there. I need to say, okay, I want everything in this row. So give me this entire column. I'm sorry, I want everything in this column. So give me everything related to column number 2, which in this case is just the name. But again, look at this. It's a tibble. It's a tibble. It's a tibble. So the single square bracket operator says, okay, give me pieces of this non-numeric vector, this tibble, and it's going to come back as a tibble. None of the things that we've done so far actually get at the contents. So if this was numeric information, we still wouldn't be able to multiply by 2 or something. Okay, so here's some exercises for you. This is, again, the exercises for this lesson are super, super important. So please take the time to do them. So I'm going to pause here again. Okay, so now you've had some opportunity to work on these exercises. Let's move on to talk about negative positional subsetting. So again, just like with atomic vectors, negative positional subsetting is saying, I don't want these things. I want everything but these things. So this would be important. Let's say, for instance, if I wanted to de-identify my ID card. So I've got data in there and somebody needs to use it for research, but I don't want my name associated with it. So I would say give them all of the data except for the first 2 entries. The first 2 entries are my first and last name. And so that's going to give them all of this data, but it's going to have the first 2 entries removed. Again, more exercises. Like I said just a minute ago, the exercises in this lesson are very, very, very important. There's no way for you to wrap your head around all the complexities and intricacies of what's going on with subsetting non-atomic data unless you go through these exercises. I promise you, you really need to spend the time working on this. So take some time and do this. I'm going to pause again. Okay, so again, exercise is super important, and I'm hoping that you're learning from these exercises. So negative positional subsetting, again, for just like they worked for lists, they also work for tibbles. But in this case, we have 2 dimensions upon which we can do negative subsetting. So we could remove the first row. So remember, whatever number comes before the comma corresponds to rows. So this is row number 1, and we've got a negative sign in front of it, and that says remove the first row. So we're removing the row corresponding to Wonder Woman. Again, we could remove the first and third rows and the first, third, and fourth columns. And so now we just have, whatever this information is. So here's more exercises. Okay, so I want to take time. I want you guys to do these exercises right here. And I want you to think about, so notice again with just like when we had atomic vectors, we could not use named subsetting and negative positional subsetting. The same is true for non-atomic vectors. So I can't say, give me heroes DF minus height CM, and it would remove the height CM column. That's not going to work, okay? We will learn how to make that work when we get to lesson 9 with dplyr, because there is a way that we can use negative subsetting with the columns of a tibble. But for now, using just the single subset operator or even the double subset operator, or as we mentioned earlier, I said the $ would be important for this lesson. We haven't gotten to the $ yet. That's down here with named subsetting. Regardless, we cannot use names and negative positional subsetting together. We can't say, give me minus city to take away the city. Not yet. We will learn how to do that once we get to lesson 9. All right, so that's enough for this part of the lesson. When we pick back up we're going to be going back to the idea of Boolean or logical subsetting, but we're going to be applying it to tibbles. So I'll see you soon.